Before we begin, let me ask you something. Have you ever been alone in a place so dark and wide that your thoughts felt louder than your footsteps? Have you ever stood somewhere the maps fade out, where help is hours away, where the wind carries sounds that don't belong to any animal you know? Out there, fear doesn't come from jump scares or shadows. It comes from isolation, from realizing how thin the line is between order and chaos when the wilderness decides not to care. Most of us like to believe rules exist to protect us, that authority keeps danger at bay, that if something went wrong, someone would hear you scream. But what if the rules aren't about safety? What if they're about containment? What if the darkness has learned how we think, how we help, how we respond when we hear a voice that sounds human? If stories like that unsettle you, take a moment before this begins. Like the video, subscribe for more first-person confessions from people who were meant to keep others safe, and leave a comment if you've ever felt that deep, wordless fear of a very old world. Because once this starts, we're not talking about imagination anymore. We're talking about survival, and the cost of it. My name is Thomas Yazzie. I am a Navajo Tribal Police Officer assigned to the Shiprock District, and I've been in uniform for 18 years. That includes patrol, search and rescue coordination, night response, and interagency liaison with BIA and state units who don't like being out here after sunset. Shiprock isn't just a town. It's a landmark, a spine of volcanic stone rising out of high desert and canyon land that stretches farther than most people can comprehend. When I say my jurisdiction is large, I mean there are places I patrol where radio repeaters don't work, GPS lies, and the nearest paved road is a rumor. I'm telling you this because I need you to understand something up front. I am not inexperienced, and I am not prone to panic. I've responded to exposure deaths, domestic calls that ended in blood, rollovers where the body had to be identified by jewelry. I know what coyotes sound like. I know what the wind does in slot canyons. And I know the difference between fear and intuition. There is something out there that is not wildlife. We don't put that in reports. We say unknown caller or acoustic anomaly, or we just don't write it down at all. Some explanations are avoided because once you name a thing, you're responsible for explaining why you can't stop it. The first rule I was ever told about night patrol didn't come from a manual. It came from my field training officer, Ray Begay, back in 2007. He said it while we were parked at the edge of the Chuska foothills, engine off, listening to nothing but the ticking of hot metal. Rule 1. After midnight, do not respond to voices you cannot see. He didn't smile when he said it. He didn't explain. He just waited until I nodded. Rules like that exist because they failed once already. In 2011, Officer Daniel Tsosi went missing near Copper Canyon, just south of Shiprock Peak. He had 6 years on the force, a new baby at home. Dispatch logged it as a welfare check after a series of 911 hang-ups traced to a dead zone. He broke protocol by leaving his unit to follow what he thought was a lost hiker calling for help. His body was found 3 days later at the base of a ravine he never should have been near. No footprints leading down. No sign of a fall. His radio was 30 yards away, still keyed, playing back a woman's voice saying his name. That case is why Rule 2 exists. If you hear your name called from open land at night, you retreat. We learned that rule too late for Daniel. I need to be clear about something else early on. What I'm about to describe didn't start as one incident. It didn't feel like a mystery. It felt inevitable, like pressure building behind a dam that everyone pretended wasn't cracked. Knowledge about it is passed verbally, in half-finished sentences, during cigarette breaks and long drives. Officially, we enforce traffic laws, respond to calls, keep the peace. Unofficially, we memorize behaviors that keep us alive. Rule 3. Do not use sirens in canyon areas after dark. Rule 4. Do not pursue on foot beyond your headlights. Rule 5. If multiple voices answer at once, you disengage completely. We say these rules are about officer safety. That's not wrong. It's just not the whole truth. On the night everything escalated, I was working with Officer Lena Nez and Sergeant Calvin Redhouse. Lena had 8 years on, sharp instincts, the kind of officer who remembered kids' names and elders' dogs. Calvin was close to retirement, the kind of man who still believed if you followed procedure closely enough, the world would follow back. We were running 3 patrol trucks, staggered coverage, because budget cuts had thinned night shifts to the bone. Just after midnight, dispatch received a call that didn't come through the usual channels. No phone ping. No tower. It was recorded as an open line with wind noise and breathing. Then a voice. It said, "Please, we're stuck down here." Rule 1 was already whispering in my head. Dispatch asked for clarification. The voice answered from the same channel, clearer this time. The truck rolled. "There's kids." Lena looked at me. I saw the calculation in her eyes. The rule versus the duty. Children tilt the scales. They always do. We rolled toward the canyon anyway, because that's what law enforcement is built on. The idea that compassion should override fear. As we drove, the radio crackled again. "Thomas," the voice said. "My full name. You know this road." I didn't answer. Calvin did. He told dispatch we were on approach, slow and cautious. He reminded us to keep visual confirmation before any foot movement. He was trying to hold the rules together with procedure. The canyon road narrowed, walls rising like black teeth. Headlights swallowed dust and nothing else. Then, from ahead of us, multiple voices answered at once. "Help us." "Dad." "Officer Yazzie." Rule 5. Lena slammed the brakes. Calvin swore under his breath. I felt something cold settle behind my ribs. Not fear exactly, but recognition. The thing out there had learned how to stack its chances. We shut down engines. No sirens. No lights beyond parking lamps. For a long minute, there was only the wind. Then we smelled smoke. It wasn't coming from the canyon. It was coming from behind us. That was the moment I understood this wasn't about drawing us out. It was about cutting off retreat. I tell you all of this now because what happened next forced us to violate a rule none of us thought we ever would. And once that line was crossed, nothing went back to the way it was. The smoke thickened fast, the kind that stings before you even see flame. I twisted in my seat and saw the glow first, orange licking up from the rear wheel well of Lena's unit. Not an explosion. Controlled. Intentional. Rule 6 existed for a reason I'd never wanted to test. Never abandon your vehicle at night unless fire forces you out. We were about to find out what forces really meant. "Engine fire," Lena said, voice steady but tight. She reached for her extinguisher. "Negative," I snapped, louder than I meant to. "Do not exit yet." Calvin keyed his MIC, trying dispatch again. Static. Then a voice, too calm, answered back. "Sergeant Redhouse," it said. "You taught him well." Calvin froze. I saw his jaw clench. That voice belonged to his brother, Aaron. who died in 1998 after getting lost during a winter storm near the Carrizo Mountains. I'd heard the story during a long transport once. Calvin had searched for him for 2 days. "Don't," I said. "That's not." "Help us," the voice said again, overlapping now. A child crying. A woman sobbing. Then my mother's voice, soft, using my clan name. "She's been dead 12 years. Rule 7, if the voice knows things it shouldn't, you treat it as hostile." The fire spread, not roaring, crawling, like it was taking its time. Lena popped her door despite my order. Heat rolled in. She coughed, swore, and grabbed the extinguisher anyway. That was violation 1. Compassion. Training. Reflex. The moment her boots hit the ground, the voices stopped. Silence out here is never neutral. I got out too, because leaving an officer alone breaks a different kind of rule, the kind that gets you killed by your own guilt. Calvin followed, slower, eyes scanning the canyon mouth where darkness pooled unnaturally deep. We formed a loose triangle between the trucks. Smoke drifted sideways, not rising like it should. The flames stayed low, contained to rubber and plastic, like they were meant to disable, not kill. "Thomas," Lena said quietly, "you hearing that?" I listened. At first, nothing. Then footsteps. Gravel crunching, slow, deliberate, circling us just beyond the light. Rule 8. Do not pursue auditory movement without visual confirmation. "Stay put," I said. "Back to back." Calvin murmured something in Navajo under his breath, an old protection phrase. I hadn't heard him speak it before. He didn't believe in that stuff. Or said he didn't. The footsteps multiplied. Not running. Not charging. Just pacing. Testing our perimeter. I caught movement at the edge of my flashlight beam and swung toward it. Nothing there. Then Lena gasped. In her light, standing 10 yards out, was a patrol truck. Our patrol truck. Same unit number. Same decals. Same dent in the rear panel from a livestock strike last winter. Engine off. Driver's door open. Rule 9 formed in my head, fully realized, and far too late. If you see yourself reflected in the field, you disengage entirely. "Lena," I said slowly, "do not approach that." She didn't answer. The thing, truck, reflection, lie, shifted, and someone stepped out of it. It was Lena. Not perfectly. Her hair was wrong, parted the way it used to be before she cut it short. Her uniform was clean in a way ours never stayed. She smiled the way Lena did when she talked to kids. "Hey," it said, in her voice. "You left me back there." Calvin raised his weapon. His hands shook. "Officer Nez," he said, formal, desperate. "Identify yourself." The copy tilted its head. "Sarge," it said. "You okay? You look tired." The real Lena let out a broken sound, half laugh, half sob. "That's not funny," she said. "Who's doing that?" The copy took a step closer. The gravel didn't crunch under its boots. Rule 10, if it doesn't disturb the ground, it isn't bound by it. I fired a warning shot into the dirt between us and it. The report cracked the canyon open, echoing back wrong, repeating too many times. The copy flinched, not from the sound, but from the action. Its smile tightened. "Thomas," it said, my voice now, layered over Lena's. "Why are you making this hard?" That was the moment the second truck ignited. Calvin's unit went up faster than the first. Fuel line this time. A whoomp of heat that drove us back. 2 exits gone. The canyon road ahead still black, still speaking softly with voices we knew too well. Rule 11, when surrounded, you burn your own way out. That rule had been passed to me by an old BIA officer years ago, a man who retired early and drank himself quiet. I'd thought it was metaphor. I grabbed the road flare from my kit and snapped it to life. Red light hissed and spat. The thing recoiled, Real pain this time. Its skin, Lena's skin, rippled like heat distortion. "Move!" I shouted. "Now!" We ran toward the canyon mouth, toward the voices, because it was the only direction left. Fire behind us. Lies beside us. Darkness ahead. That was violation too. Duty overriding survival instinct. The ground sloped down sharply. My boot slid, and I caught myself on instinct. Lena wasn't so lucky. She went down hard, rolling, her flare skittering away into the dark. She screamed my name. I turned back. Rule 12. Do not go back for a fallen voice unless you see the body. I saw her. Twisted on the ground, ankle wrong, real pain etched on her face. The thing mimicking her stood just beyond, watching, patient. "Help me," Lena cried. "Please." I moved without thinking. Grabbed her vest. Hauled. The copy spoke softly, almost kindly. "Good," it said. "That's good." Calvin fired. Not at the copy, at the flare. He shattered it with a precise shot, plunging us into near-total darkness. "Run," he yelled. "Don't stop." He stayed behind. I didn't see how he died. I heard it. A wet, folding sound. His voice cut off mid-prayer. Lena and I ran until our lungs burned and our legs gave out, until the canyon widened enough for moonlight to find us. When we finally stopped, there were no voices, no footsteps, no fire, just the echo of what we'd left behind that we reported it as an ambush. Vehicle sabotage. Unknown suspects. Calvin Redhouse died in the line of duty. No one asked why there were no tracks, or why 2 trucks burned without accelerant, or why the audio from our body cams was corrupted after midnight. Lena never came back to full duty. She hears voices in crowds now. Won't answer her phone after dark. As for me, I memorized new rules. Because it learned that night. Learned our names. Learned our faces. Learned that if it takes away our exits, we will break ourselves trying to save each other. And that was just the beginning. After Calvin's death, the rules changed, but not on paper. Officially, nothing about patrol procedure was amended. No new memos. No advisories. The report said we'd encountered arsonists who used diversionary tactics and fled on foot. It said Sergeant Redhouse acted heroically to allow Officer Nez and myself to escape. That part was true. The rest was clean enough to sign. Unofficially, every night shift started asking different questions. Did it say your name yet? Did you hear more than one? Did it sound close, or like it was using the canyon? Those conversations didn't happen in briefing rooms. They happened leaning against tailgates, engines running, eyes scanning the dark like it might lean closer to listen. Lena transferred to day shift within a month. She stopped making eye contact with mirrors. I didn't realize how bad it had gotten until she asked me, dead serious, if I thought reflections could lie. I didn't answer her. Some questions don't need encouragement. Strangled completely. That kind of self-denial leaves scars you don't see until you're too quiet around the people you love. Alana started locking our bedroom door at night. Not because she thought it would stop anything, but because it made a sound when it opened. Rule 19. Sound matters more than barriers. We never said it out loud, but both of us understood what that lock was really for. Not to keep something out. To warn us if it decided to come in. The department reassigned me officially to administrative night oversight, which was a polite way of saying I was still on call, still expected to respond, but no longer guaranteed backup. Fewer units. Fewer eyes. Less noise. That's when the calls began coming in clusters. Not emergencies. Not exactly. Noise complaints. Reports of someone walking behind a house. A man standing too long at the edge of a property, just watching. Always after midnight. Always just far enough apart to keep units moving. Rule 20. Do not let it herd you. I started mapping the calls. Times. Locations. Who responded. What they heard. Patterns emerged, arcs along dry washes, clusters near old trading posts, gaps where nothing ever happened. It was using the land like a circuit. Learning how we flowed through it. The night it went after my family directly wasn't loud. That's important. It didn't scream. It didn't knock. It didn't use my parents' voices or my wife's. It used my niece. Her name is Kayla. She was 9 at the time. My sister's daughter. Stayed over occasionally on weekends, liked sleeping on the couch because she said it felt like camping. That night, she was supposed to be at home. At 12:42 a.m., I heard soft crying from the living room. I was already awake. That might be the only reason I didn't answer immediately. Alana stirred beside me. "Thomas," she whispered. "I hear it," I said. The crying hiccuped, small and scared. A child trying not to be heard. "Uncle Tommy." Kayla's voice said. "I can't find Mom." Alana sat up. "That's Kayla." "I know." Rule 21 existed only in my head until that moment. If it sounds like a child you love, you still do not respond until verified. Verification takes time. Time it knows you won't take. The crying grew louder. Footsteps padded softly across the floor. I heard the couch creak. "Please," Kayla sobbed. "It's dark." Alana was already out of bed. I caught her wrist. Hard. She turned on me with a look I'll never forget. Not anger, not fear. Betrayal. "She's a child," she said. "I know," I said. My voice shook. "So is it." The crying stopped. Silence pressed in, thick and waiting. Then the voice changed. Not to mock us. To negotiate. "Thomas," it said, "calm now. Adult. Reasonable. You don't even have to come out. Just open the door. Let the light in." It knew about Rule 19. I released Alana's wrist slowly. She didn't move toward the door. She just sank back onto the bed, hands over her mouth, eyes fixed on the darkness beyond the hallway. We sat there for over an hour. No more crying. No more voices. Just the faint sound of breathing that didn't belong to either of us. At dawn, the couch cushions were indented. Small. Like someone had slept there. Kayla called us at 8 a.m. from her mother's house. Perfectly fine. No memory of the night. That was the moment something broke in me. Not loudly, not visibly. Just a fracture that let cold in. Because the rule had worked. And it had cost us something anyway. 2 weeks later, the department lost another officer. Not in the field. At home. Officer Melissa Gray, state liaison, found dead in her bathroom. Apparent suicide. No note. No history of depression. Her husband said she'd been hearing voices through the vents for months, whispering her name, asking for help. Rule 22, if it can't reach you outside, it will try to convince you to open yourself. We attended the funeral in uniform. Closed casket. Her husband wouldn't meet our eyes. I didn't blame him. If someone had told him the truth, he would have had to live with it. After that, Command finally did something tangible. They ordered a coordinated night operation, multiple agencies, floodlights, thermal, ground units. A show of force. I argued against it. So did 2 others. We were overruled. Rule 23. It learns fastest when we act together. The operation centered on the canyon corridor where it first escalated. Same road. Same bends. Same dead zones. We staged at 11:30 p.m. 8 vehicles. Generators humming. Lights so bright they flattened the landscape into harsh white geometry. For a moment, it almost felt safe. At 12:07 a.m., the lights started failing. Not all at once. One by one. Like something moving through them. The radio lit up with overlapping chatter. I've got movement. No, that's... Who just called my name? Why is my thermal showing? Then the voices came through the PA system. Clear. Amplified. Familiar. They didn't beg this time. They issued commands. Officer Martinez, fall back. Unit 3, your partner is down. Thomas, turn around. That was the third set piece. The one that ended any illusion of containment. Because when I turned, against every rule, against every instinct, I saw Alana standing at the edge of the light. She was wearing the jacket she'd lost years ago. Hair down the way I liked it. Face calm. I'm scared, she said. They won't let me leave unless you come with me. I knew. Every part of me knew. And I still took a step toward her. That was violation 3. Love. A hand grabbed my vest from behind and yanked me back hard enough to knock the breath out of me. Officer Martinez. Young. Terrified. Crying. Don't, he sobbed. Please don't. The thing wearing my wife's face smiled at him. You weren't invited, it said. The lights went out completely. When they came back on, minutes or hours later, I still don't know which, half the units were disabled. 2 officers were gone. No blood. No tracks. Just empty gear and radios quietly repeating our own voices. The operation was officially deemed inconclusive. After that, they stopped organizing big responses. Too visible. Too costly. The rules still worked. Mostly. But enforcement fatigue is real. People slip. People get tired. People start thinking maybe this time will be different. It never is. I transferred my family out of Shiprock 6 months later. Told them it was for school opportunities. For safety. That part wasn't a lie. I stayed. Because someone has to remember the rules. I took over Calvin's night coverage. 18 years in. Seniority meant I could have refused. But if I'm being honest, I didn't trust anyone else with it. I knew the rules now. I knew the cost of not following them. Rule 13. Do not work alone after midnight, even if dispatch authorizes it. That rule failed 2 weeks later when staffing dropped again. The calls didn't stop. They changed. Instead of distress calls from the canyon, we started getting welfare checks that unraveled when we arrived. Doors unlocked. Lights on. Houses empty but warm, like someone had just stepped out. Sometimes the radio would crackle while I was inside, and a voice would ask if I'd found what I was looking for. I stopped answering my personal phone after dark. My wife noticed before anyone else. Her name is Alana. We've been married 14 years. She grew up on the reservation too. She understands silence the way people from cities never do. You're not sleeping, she said one morning, watching me pour coffee I wouldn't finish. It's temporary, I told her. She didn't argue. She just asked, is it using voices yet? That stopped me cold. She'd lost a cousin in 2009 near Teak Numbers, where search and rescue found his truck. Doors open, radio still playing. No body. No explanation. Families talk, even when agencies don't. I told her some of it. Not Calvin. Not Lena. Just enough to justify the locks she started checking twice. The first time it crossed that line, into my home, I was off duty. It was 1:17 a.m. I remember because I just checked the clock, trying to decide if lying still counted as sleep. The house was quiet. No wind. No dogs barking. Then someone knocked on the front door. Not pounded. Not tentative. 3 measured knocks. Rule 14. No one knocks after midnight without calling first. Alana sat up beside me. Did you hear that? I did. And I knew better than to answer. The knock came again. Same rhythm. Thomas, a voice called softly. My father's voice. He died in 2003, heart attack, right there in Shiprock. Son, Open up. Alana's hand found mine. Her grip was tight enough to hurt. Don't, she whispered. I stayed still. The knock stopped. Then it moved. Footsteps on the porch. Slow. Deliberate. Then the sound of fingers brushing the window glass, like someone checking for dust. Alana, the voice said, using her voice now. Perfect. Panicked. Please, I'm outside. I forgot my keys. She let out a sound I'd never heard before, a broken, animal whimper. I pulled her close, heart hammering so loud I was sure it could hear. Rule 15, if it reaches your home, you do not respond. You endure. We endured for 43 minutes. I timed it by my breathing. The voices cycled through people we loved. My mother. Alana's sister. A child crying that sounded like our nephew. Then it stopped. No footsteps leaving. No final words. Just absence. I didn't go outside until sunrise. From that night on, it stopped pretending the line between duty and personal life mattered. Calls started referencing my family. Dispatch logs with addresses close to my house. A report of a lost child near my son's old elementary school. He graduated years ago, but the name was right. Rule 16, if a call feels personal, it is bait. That rule cost us someone else. Officer Ben Cinney was young, 5 years on, eager, still believed response time mattered more than anything. He took a call near Shiprock Wash. A woman screaming for help, said she'd fallen. He broke Rule 8 and went on foot beyond his headlights. We found his cruiser idling. Door open. Radio playing back his own voice, calm, professional, calling out coordinates that didn't exist. They never found him. After that, command started pushing back. Too many losses. Too many questions from families. We were told to limit night patrols. To de-escalate exposure. That's when containment started failing. Because the thing didn't need us anymore. People began reporting voices calling them by name from arroyos. Kids heard classmates calling them after dark. One elder followed her husband's voice into the desert and was found 2 days later dehydrated and incoherent, repeating, "It almost had me." The rules were spreading, but unevenly, imperfectly. Passed by word of mouth, by rumor, by fear. Not everyone heard the right ones in time. The second set piece, the one I still dream about, happened during a search for a missing teenager named Mariah Begay. 16. Last seen near the quarry road after a fight with her parents. We mobilized everything we had. Volunteers. Drones. Thermal imaging. Rule 17. Do not use aerial tech after midnight if voices are involved. Command overruled it. The drone feed showed heat signatures moving in patterns that didn't match human gait. Then the audio channel opened. "Dad." Mariah's voice said over the drone speaker, "I'm here." Her father dropped to his knees. I shut the system down myself. Took the reprimand. Took the threat of suspension. It didn't matter. We found Mariah alive at dawn, hiding under a culvert, hypothermic but breathing. She said something followed her all night, never touched her, just kept talking. Learning. She said it told her my name. Told her I'd keep her safe if she waited. That was the first time I realized it didn't just mimic. It recruited. It used us as proof. I started writing the rules down, not officially, not anywhere that could be found easily. A notebook I kept hidden, because once something is written, it can be shared. And once it's shared, it can be misused. Rule 18. Do not let it hear you explain the rules. Because it listens. Always. And it's patient. By then, I wasn't sleeping more than an hour at a time. Alana stopped asking questions. We moved my mother-in-law in temporarily, because more people in the house felt safer. I don't know if it actually was. Every night, I sat awake, listening to the dark, waiting for the knock that would test whether love or rules would win. I knew eventually, one of them wouldn't. By the 4th month, Exhaustion stopped feeling like a symptom and started feeling like a strategy. If you're tired enough, fear dulls. That's what I told myself, anyway. The truth is, the rules were taking more effort to follow than the job itself. Every instinct I had trained for, respond, assist, pursue, had to be throttled down, questioned, sometimes. And because it already knows my name. After my family left, the house felt wrong in a way I can't fully explain. Not empty, listened to. Every sound carried farther. Every shadow lingered like it was waiting for permission. I moved into the spare bedroom and kept the master locked. Not because I thought it mattered. Because it felt disrespectful to sleep where my wife should have been safe. That's when the calls started coming from outside my jurisdiction. At first it was subtle. An officer from Window Rock asking if we'd ever dealt with voice-related disorientation during night welfare checks. A BIA supervisor near Kayenta mentioning that search dogs were refusing to leave vehicles after midnight, whining and clawing at the doors when handlers tried to deploy them. I didn't answer directly. You never give more than you're asked. Rule 18 applies to people too. But the pattern was obvious. The thing wasn't moving. It was expanding. Rule 24. It does not migrate. It propagates. I started getting pulled into quiet conversations, parking lot debriefs, shared cigarettes, drives that took longer than necessary. Different agencies. Same half-spoken sentences. We had a caller who knew our names. It used my partner's voice. It told us to follow procedure. That last one stuck with me. Because it had learned something important. Authority overrides instinct. If it sounded official enough, calm enough, people listened. The first confirmed out-of-area fatality tied to it happened near Canyon de Chelly. A park ranger named Eli Morgan. 12 years of service. Found at the base of a cliff after responding to a report of tourists stranded after dark. His body cam audio was never released, but a technician I trusted told me there was a section they couldn't explain, Eli receiving instructions from someone who wasn't on the channel. They said his name 3 times. Rule 25, if it invokes authority, it is attempting command. By then, I was sleeping at the station more often than home. Less because I felt safer there, more because I didn't trust myself alone. Fatigue makes you sloppy. Sloppy people break rules without noticing. I started training rookies differently. Not officially. Not on record. I'd take them out on night drives and talk about terrain. About sound travel. About why you don't answer every call immediately. I framed it as officer survival. Which wasn't a lie. One of them was a kid named Thomas Yazzie. No relation. 22 years old. Smart. Compassionate. The kind of officer departments like to show off. He asked too many questions. What if it really is someone lost? What if we're wrong just once? Rule 26. The rules fail hardest on good people. I didn't answer him directly. I told him about Daniel Tsosi, about Ben, about Calvin, without details. I told him rules are written in blood, even when the blood doesn't make the report. He nodded. I thought he understood. 2 nights later, he broke Rule 8. The call was mundane. Noise complaint near an old Hogan site. Voices arguing. Domestic disturbance maybe. Aaron arrived first. Waited like he was supposed to. Then he heard a woman crying. He went on foot. His body was found at dawn, sitting upright against a juniper tree like he'd chosen to rest. No injuries. No signs of struggle. His face was peaceful in a way that made my stomach turn. The coroner listed cause of death as undetermined cardiac event. I didn't argue. Because how do you explain a heart giving out when it's convinced it's safe? After Aaron, something changed in me. Not grief. I was long past clean grief. It was resignation. A settling into the understanding that I wasn't fighting to win anymore. I was fighting to delay. Rule 27. You cannot save everyone. You can only slow the count. Administrative pressure increased. Fewer night responses. More emphasis on officer discretion. Which sounds supportive until you realize it just shifts blame downward. If someone responded and died, they violated protocol. If they didn't respond and someone else died, they lacked initiative. Either way, the rules stayed unofficial. That's when I noticed something else. The voices were getting better. Not just mimicking. Timing breaths. Pausing naturally. Interrupting themselves like real people do. Using shared memories I hadn't spoken aloud in years. One night, while sitting alone in my cruiser near Shiprock Peak, I heard my wife laugh over the radio. Just once. Just enough. I shut everything down and waited until sunrise. Rule 28, if it uses joy instead of fear, it is confident. The regional meeting happened in early spring. Tribal Police, BIA, Park Services, State Liaison. Closed doors. No recordings. The word voices was never used. We talked about unverified auditory stimuli. About psychological strain in low-population night patrol environments. About reallocating resources. I raised my hand once. How many of you have had a call where the caller knew something they shouldn't? No one answered. But no one looked surprised either. That's when I understood the final institutional failure. Everyone knew. No one wanted to be the first to say it out loud. Because once you do, you admit you're not in control. After the meeting, a park superintendent pulled me aside. Older man. Tired eyes. It followed us from Utah, he said quietly. Didn't it? I didn't correct him. Because it didn't follow, IT had always been there. Rule 29. Geography does not limit it. Attention does. The most devastating incident, the one that made retirement feel like abandonment, happened at a school. Not Shiprock. Further east. A small community. One elementary building. Fenced yard. Security lights. A janitor working late heard children talking in a classroom after midnight. He went to check. By the time police arrived, the building was empty. No forced entry. No missing kids. But every classroom whiteboard had writing on it. Names. First names only. In children's handwriting. Some of those kids lived miles away. Some had never attended that school. One name was Kayla. My niece. I drove 3 hours without calling ahead. I needed to see it myself. The boards had been wiped by the time I arrived. The principal was pale, hands shaking, repeating that it was probably a prank. I sat in my cruiser afterward and stared at nothing for a long time. Rule 30, if it targets children collectively, it is no longer testing. It is planning. That night, I made the hardest choice of my career. I stopped answering certain calls. Not all. Never emergencies with visual confirmation. But voices in open land. Unverified distress after midnight. Calls that felt crafted. People still died. But fewer officers did. That's the line you cross when survival becomes triage. I don't sleep at the station anymore. I sleep in my truck, parked in places where the land is open and the stars are visible. Enclosed spaces carry sound too well. Sometimes, just before dawn, I hear movement beyond the headlights. Not approaching. Not retreating. Observing. Learning how long I wait before I start the engine. It hasn't tried my wife's voice in a long time. That worries me more than anything. Because it means it doesn't need to. I'm going to tell you how this ends, but you need to understand something first. It doesn't end here. It doesn't end with me, or Shiprock, or the rules. Those are just the edges we draw so we can pretend there's a center we're standing on. There isn't. By the time I decided to retire, enforcement fatigue had already hollowed the department out. Not in numbers. We could still put bodies in uniforms, but in conviction. New officers listened politely when the old ones talked about sound discipline and night protocols. They nodded. They took notes. And then, when the radio crackled and a voice sounded scared enough, human enough, they moved anyway. Because that's what we train people to do. My last 6 months on duty felt like standing in floodwater with a sandbag that kept dissolving in my hands. I could slow it, redirect it, but the pressure was constant, and it was learning faster than we were. Rule 31 came to me too late to matter much. It remembers who hesitates. The final incident I responded to wasn't the biggest. It wasn't the loudest. There were no fires. No mass disappearance. Just one call, logged like any other. A missing boy. Name, Jacob Ortega. Age, 7. Last seen playing near a dry wash behind his grandmother's house just after sunset. Reported missing at 12:18 a.m. I almost didn't respond. That's the truth I have to live with. Because it fit too cleanly. Too precise. The timing, the location, the age. It was a scenario engineered to break rules without looking like it was trying. Rule 21 screamed in my head. So did Rule 16. And Rule 30. But there was a child's name on the screen. I went. Not alone. I brought 2 officers, both experienced, both briefed. No sirens. No lights once we left pavement. We staged and waited. Thermal up. Night vision active. The wash was quiet. Too quiet. No insects. No wind. Then we heard him. Abuela, the voice called softly from downstream. I'm cold. One of the officers, Miguel, took a step forward before he caught himself. I grabbed his vest and shook my head. Visual only, I whispered. We advanced slowly, lights low, scanning. That's when we saw Jacob. Standing in the wash. Barefoot. Pajama pants dusty at the cuffs. Crying quietly, arms wrapped around himself. Real. My heart tried to climb out of my throat. Rule 12. Do not go back for a fallen voice unless you see the body. We saw the body. Jacob, I said, keeping my voice calm, even. Can you see me? He nodded. Stay where you are, I said. We're coming to you. He took a step back. I hear them, he said. Who? Miguel asked before I could stop him. Jacob looked past us. Over our shoulders. Smiled a little. They sound like you, he said. The ground behind him shifted. Not like something emerging. Like something aligning. I raised my weapon, not to fire, just to give my hand something to do. Jacob, I said carefully. Run toward my voice. Right now. He hesitated. Then a voice behind us, perfect, authoritative, cut in over the radio. Unit 3, hold position. We have eyes on the subject. Miguel froze. I shut my radio off and tore his down with it. Jacob. I shouted. Now. He ran. The thing behind him surged. Not fast, not slow. Certain. Miguel fired. The rounds went wide. The sound cracked the night open, and suddenly there were more voices. Overlapping. Encouraging. Correcting. Jacob tripped. I broke every rule I had left and ran. I grabbed him and felt the shock of warmth, real weight, and threw him over my shoulder without stopping. The thing brushed past me, close enough that my ears rang, close enough that it whispered my name with gratitude. We didn't pursue it. We didn't chase. We retreated until the land opened and sound stopped bending. Jacob survived. He doesn't remember much. Just that he was lost, and then he wasn't. But sometimes, his grandmother says, he talks in his sleep. Gives instructions. Uses words no 7-year-old should know. After that night, I filed my retirement papers. Not because I was afraid. Because I understood the final rule. Rule 32. staying too long makes you part of the pattern. The department didn't fight me on it. They thanked me for my service, gave me a plaque, told me I'd earned my rest. Unofficially, 3 different people asked me for the rules. Not copies, just guidance. I told them what I could. Don't answer voices you can't see after midnight. If it knows your name, disengage. Never follow sound downhill. Never go alone. Never trust authority that doesn't arrive with a face. And if you hear multiple voices at once, retreat, no matter what they say. I didn't tell them everything. Some rules only exist because you've already failed them. I live farther out now. Open land. Fewer canyons. I don't answer my phone at night. I don't keep mirrors facing the bed. I don't speak names out loud after dark unless I have to. Sometimes, just before sleep, I hear footsteps pacing the edge of my property. Not approaching. Not leaving. Waiting. I know it's still out there. I know it's learned new places. New accents. New procedures. I know that somewhere, someone is hearing a voice they recognize and telling themselves it's probably fine. That rules are for other situations. Other nights. Eventually, someone always breaks. That's why I'm telling you this now. Because once you've heard it, once you understand that rules don't exist to keep you safe, but to keep it contained, you're already closer to the line than you think. If you live near open land, if you work nights, if you hear your name called from the dark, don't answer. And if you think this sounds familiar, like something you've already experienced but never put words to, that means it's been listening to you too. This isn't a story. It's a warning that came late. And it's still learning how to use you.